Give us the latest injury news that you know of with the Vikes, obviously, but for the Bears, TJ Edwards and Jalen Johnson, probably the most notable, right?
Yeah, and Kyler Gordon going on the injury report yesterday, I thought right before the noon window was interesting because he wasn't on the final injury report last week. He wasn't on the injury report at all with that hamstring, which he had been recovering from. I know he said earlier in the week that he was confident he's going to play. He didn't have any issue, and then all of a sudden he pops up yesterday and is questionable. So in theory, two of your top corners on the injury report with questionable designations going into a game where you have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, TJ Hawkinson, all these really good pass catchers they're going to have to contain. It's not a great sign. Certainly, even if these guys are able to play, there's obviously going to be something that's holding them back a little bit just because they are dealing with injury. But on the other side of that, Harrison Smith's not going to be there. So he was downgraded to out yesterday. He's not traveling. He did not travel to Chicago with the Vikings. You heard Caleb talk about how difficult he made that matchup last year because he's such a savvy veteran player. He can play mind games with quarterbacks. He's always watching their eyes. Like he knows exactly how to manipulate a young quarterback. So maybe that's a bit of an advantage for the Bears and not having to go against their best defensive player, arguably, on the back end. But those are, between the two secondaries, those are the big ones we're looking at. And then I think with TJ Edwards and what Ben Johnson said the other day, even before practice started, that he was going to be doubtful. This one, we haven't seen him out there since cutdown day when he injured that hamstring initially. That's more than a week now. So tomorrow's 2 weeks since he's practiced. And that one's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Some thoughts from Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Vikings, says that Soldier Field's going to be rocking.
Going to Chicago, it's going to be a very tough environment, as you all know. It's a hard place to play. I know that stadium's going to be rocking. They've got a really, really good football team. Explosive guys on the offensive side of the ball, and it's going to be a big, big challenge for us. So, we're just trying to string some good days together right now, good meetings, good walkthroughs, and good practices, and, looking forward to Monday night, though.
At times, we have been able to see Ben Johnson with the Lions be able to take advantage of Brian Flores and his blitzing ability as a defensive coordinator. But that's with the Lions. What about the Bears? What are some of the things that you think that they're talking about trying to exploit from a very aggressive Flores defense?
Well, they did it in the first matchup last year specifically. Like when Thomas Brown, that was his second week as the offensive coordinator, it was a very conscious effort to get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands very quickly. And I imagine that, again, that will be part of the game plan tonight. Focus on, quick passes, evading the rush, wherever you can. Because, Minnesota's heard how the Bears feel about their left tackle spot as much as we have here in Chicago. So, of course, that's where they're going to be lining up Jonathan Grenard. That's a matchup that they're going to be trying to take advantage of. Ben Johnson pointed to. They love those one-on-one matchups, and they love to take advantage of them. I think if he's going to blitz as much as we think he is, and if the Bears are planning to use as much pre-snap motion, shifts, the cadence, all of those things pre-snap that they want to use as weapons, that forces defenders to blitz from a standing position a lot of times. And a lot of times with movements, like as things are changing, as pieces are moving around, the defenses have to communicate a ton up front to know where they're going to be after the ball snaps. And I think that they can tip their hand a little bit to that. So I think as much of it is a challenge, this offense, how much Caleb Williams has to be responsible for pre-snap and making sure they can get the ball snapped, frankly, and no delay of game, making sure guys are lined up in the right place. I think against a blitz, it can as heavy as the one that we see typically from Brian Flores, it can actually work to their advantage to be able to get a read on what the defense is doing to then help Caleb get rid of the ball quickly, be decisive with his reads, and be able to string some good plays together and not be in second and forever and third and long the way that we saw some instances of that in preseason games and in preseason practices to be able to stay ahead of the chain.
So in terms of TJ Edwards, A, how serious is his injury? I know he's doubtful. And B, Who do we look at linebacker besides Tremaine Edmonds? Is it Hippolyte? Is it Noah Sewell? Is it somebody else? What does Dennis Allen have in his trick bag, do you think?
True Fan Travel and ESPN Chicago are teaming up for the ultimate fan getaway to Sin City to see the Bears take on the Raiders in Las Vegas.
You get round-trip airfare, 3-night stay at Mandalay Bay, special live broadcasts and meet and greets with the full ESPN Chicago team, all-inclusive tailgate, tickets to Bears, Raiders, and more to come.
Spots are limited, so don't wait. Reserve your spot today at truefantravel.com. Back to you on the video.
Yeah, I mean, a 2-week injury and the fact that he was already ruled doubtful before – he didn't do anything this past week. These are trying to rest him on it. I would say this is one that is – he didn't look happy. I remember the day that he left the field with a trainer that Tuesday, he looked pretty upset. I don't know exactly how he tweaked it, what happened, but he went down and he took his helmet off and he went off the field. So it's 2 weeks ago tomorrow. That's pretty significant. We know with soft tissue injuries, they take some time. Now behind him, I tend to think, Ruben Hippolyte's going to get a nice look tonight. They've got 2 running backs with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason and a young quarterback that they're probably going to be leaning pretty heavily on a versatile run game. And that's going to stress the middle of this defense. It's going to stress your linebackers. And I know what they've said about Noah Sewell. They obviously, like Ryan Poles, feels like he's coming into his own this year after being drafted on day 3 a couple of years ago. It's finally clicking, but they really like Ruben Hippolyte. In speaking with Hippolyte the other day, I mean, of course, he wasn't going to say exactly like, yes, I am the starting weak side linebacker next to Tremaine Edmonds. But I think he's like, as far as who's going to get the first snaps back there tonight, I initially thought it was going to be Sewell, and I still kind of lean that way. But I also would not be surprised if the rookie who has gotten a lot of first-team reps over the last month or so, finds his way into that rotation soon tonight, like pretty quickly on.
There's so many different stories that are written about the Chicago Bears, some false, some truth, some in the middle. I wonder how the Chicago Bears look at the latest story that we talked about earlier, because there's a lot that's out there, Courtney. And again, I don't know what's true and what's not true, but my God, it seems like it's a lot on Caleb Williams and the Bears. I wonder how the organization, just the players, handle that, because you can't turn a blind eye for it. It's out there.
No, it definitely is. And, I mean, I don't know if players have time to get through 27,000 words on a 3-part series and if they have the login for golong.com. But, I mean, they hear it. They obviously hear it. For someone like Caleb, I'll say this about the reporting that was done. What's the right way to say this? Like, there are clear people who have an axe to grind. So it is the former coaches, staffers in the building still, which I find, pretty alarming. And obviously those that, have parted ways with the Bears. Like, there's an agenda here, and doesn't mean it's wrong, but I just want people to keep that in mind, that when you read something like this, there's these people and their view of the truth. There's Caleb and his view of what went down his rookie season. And the real truth is somewhere in the middle on that. It's a lot. It certainly has, carried a big weight going into week 1, given the timing of when it dropped. But again, it looks back at last year. So I would imagine these players, and the message that's coming from coaches is last year was last year. They've been pretty adamant about, not going, but looking at this point in the season, not looking back at what happened in 2024, not looking back at the fallout. But it does very obviously put pressure on those who are, the subjects of this takeout, of this feature series, whatever you want to call it, an expose, an investigative reporting. I think puts a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams, certainly puts a lot of pressure on Ryan Poles. And, this is one game tonight, but it's one game in setting the tone for the type of team you want to be. I mean, we saw what Detroit was like yesterday without Ben Johnson and without Aaron Glenn and without a host of other position coaches. They didn't look like the same Detroit that they did a year ago when they were world beaters. And obviously not having two of the biggest pieces of your offensive line certainly help with that, or help, create that narrative. But I think that tonight, if this article, obviously it's still surfacing, people are still asking a lot of questions about the validity of it and, why it came out now. If they win tonight, I think a lot of that goes away. if they don't, I think a lot of that surfaces, and the same concerns and questions about the quarterback and his ability to operate this offense will continue to percolate.
Before we let you go, as we have been talking about that article, there, as you said, I think there are people that axe to grind. Some of it absolutely may be true. And they all have to wear it, and shame on them, everyone and connected, for some of the nonsense that may have gone on. But we're on to 2025. Period. That's it. Just look like a competent freaking football team. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's all fans really want. And in no way, shape, or form am I discrediting any of the reporting there. I mean, Tyler Dunn has covered the Bills. He's covered the Packers. He has his own thing now where, it's, I'm not going to say easy by any stretch because there's a lot of reporting that went into the story, but it is easier when you're out of the building to put something like this together because especially if you're giving people the credence to talk on anonymous conditions, people are going to be honest about stuff. And there were a lot of hurt feelings in what went down last year. And I think it does shed light into the process and some of the processes that certainly need to be fixed within quarterback evaluation, how coaching, how things go on inside of the building. But I tend to think, and I think that fans should read this, just read it, take it, don't make it let you feel any type of way, but be like, okay, and then move on. I know there are a lot of people who are angry about the timing of it and how it made them feel. Well, if that's the case, then you know that there's a deeper meaning there, that you're upset with your football team because you fear that the same thing could happen again with this quarterback. Now, if, Kap, I'm with you. It's 2025. It's a new season. You can wash away all the sins of the previous regime by starting off on the right foot here. Win or loss. Make it look like a competent football team out there. Make it look like the quarterback can process a lot of information, which they have told us he's gotten better at. Have what is being sold to fans, to the media, to everybody else, live up to reality tonight. That is the quickest way to get moving in the right direction and not look like Bears teams of the past.
As always, Courtney, we appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Take care. See you tonight.
See you tonight. There she is, Courtney Cronin on the Yingling Hotline.